Attention all passengers, we are now boarding first class and business class. The tenderpreneurs, middlemen, foreign businessmen and dodgy civil servants can now approach the aircraft. For the rest of you at Funyonye, please wait in an orderly fashion until the air staff are ready to summon you. You know the drill. While you queue up in a long line at the airport, the VIPs get to cut the line and are immediately seated on cushioned recliners drinking the finest wines and eating gourmet meals, while you are crammed in the back drinking murky water, being served the cut-offs and leftovers that the VIPs didn't want, and have a screaming toddler sitting on your left and a drooling stranger on your right. But that kind of treatment doesn't only happen mid-flight. Once you have landed, the same preferential treatment is given to some, which has recently caused a stir at the NAC, where they awarded a $7 billion tender to upgrade the Hosea Kutako Airport to a Chinese firm, Anue Foreign Economic Construction Corporation. Late last year, the president halted the cloak and dagger deal because it wasn't approved by the government. For one, only a few companies were given expression of interest in 2014, aka the tender was never made public. Secondly, the deal was signed without the approval of Attorney General Saki Shangala, who needs to oversee all big contracts that bind the government. And Finance Minister Kailash Vatvain, who apparently knew about the tender, found it worrisome that a parasite committed to such a big project, which might even prove to be unaffordable for the government, without government involvement. Naturally, several companies had expressed dissatisfaction with the awarding of the tender and claimed that they were disadvantaged in the process. The Chinese firm is also upset about losing the tender and are threatening to sue the NAC. The middlemen and grubby civil servants who had tried to covertly push the deal through lost out on their $500 million cut. On the 3rd of January, the Namibian contacted the NAC to ask them these questions on how they were going to deal with the cancellation of the tender. And a few weeks later, we still haven't had a response. Upgrading our airport is totally justified because while OR Tambo gets 19 million passengers a year, Hosea Kutako gets around 800,000. So naturally, with our staggering amount of air traffic, we need an even bigger airport to accommodate all the crickets. We need to commend the NAC for doing such a great job of running our airports. Like, remember that time they forgot to turn on their airport scanners on all the other fire hazards that happened along the way? Not to mention that time the CEO Tamar El-Kalawi's trip to Mozambique was paid by the Chinese company who awarded the tender. But clearly, there's nothing fishy about that. So despite the state stopping the awarding of the tender, this is what we think will happen. The very same Chinese company will see the tender. No one involved in the initial legal deal will be held accountable, and the middlemen will somehow get their generous cut. The taxpayer will still have to fork out a $7 billion bill when the tender is re-advertised for another upgrade that the country surely doesn't need at the moment. With protesting tertiary students, pupils having to share rotting hostel facilities with goats, the Namibian dollar being extremely low, lackluster public health facilities, and not to mention the severe drought that the country is facing, you would think that the government would have higher priorities. To put that into perspective, the $7 billion could pay the university registration fees of 2 million Namibian students, or the money could be used to build 9,333 houses like the NHE had promised to build last year. But clearly, we have more important matters at hand, and we are in desperate need of a shiny new airport where the tenderpreneurs, middlemen, and dodgy civil servants can play. We hope you enjoyed your flight with us. Do come again!